Hello, mate, to Thrive Nation. It's going to be a unique, very, very specific show with a hero, a health hero from California in the US. It's about non-native electromagnetic fields. I'm really excited. Being a geobiologist and measuring fields and doing home and office assessments in this space, the pernicious effects of these fields need to be known by every single person because it does affect you. Most people carry a smartphone, although we try and sort of limit our use. We need to mitigate against these effects. So I've got a very special guest, Justin Frandson, all the way from the US. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate you having me on.
Brilliant. Now, Justin, give us a little bit of a backstory, how you got into this field, because I think it's really important that we get the word out.
Yeah, you got it. I am an athleticism performance coach, work with amateur and professional athletes the last 25 years, all on out of the box health and performance training, nerve work for sports performance, whole body, whole brain, ambidexterity. I treat concussions. I do a lot of different stuff with the body. What I saw is athletes breaking down from excess EMF in their space. One in particular, one of the strongest, fittest endurance athletes came through wearing a smartwatch. His whole arm went weak from that smartwatch. I'm like, get that radiation off your wrist. He healed without me having to really do anything. And that's when I knew I had to dive in to understand in a bigger spectrum, what's the difference between us and non-native EMF.
Brilliant. So give us a story, and maybe give us a few stories if you can, maybe male, female, maybe people with chronic disease or athletes who, embrace some of your techniques or products and their lives dramatically changed.
Yeah, well, so many different stories, Steve. I don't even know where to begin. Go to emfrocks.com and see all the testimonials, from better sleep to cognitive stuff to less tremors to now I can live in society again. One big one, I had a client where we cleared their home in Newport Beach, wealthy family, and the mom was a former professional athlete, so they eat all organic. Well, they had a transform in their backyard. It was one of the most unhealthy homes that we'd seen because of the cross wiring going to it. And then the whole home was just full of RF, and it was newly built. And it had a lot of transformers in the lights, and the LED lights. So it had really high dirty electricity as well. So I go in and meter their home. It's super high on all three levels. I'm like, guys, you got to get out of this house while we fix it. And so they did. They went to Fiji. And the reason that let me back up. The reason I got a call was because one of their kids got diabetes. And they are all starting to break down with health challenges, poor sleeping habits, early menopause, like in their early 40s. And like the list was just going on and on. And so they knew something was off, and they heard I was metering home. So new mom with her son with a smartwatch on to measure their blood sugar. They fly to Fiji, which is a long flight. When everyone turns on the Wi-Fi, his blood sugar goes up 200 points. Kid gets a bloody nose on the airplane. Then, everyone goes to sleep. Half people wake up towards the tail end of the flight. Meter goes up 100 points while the kid's sleeping. Another bloody nose. The mom's watching this whole thing go down. So we know that this stuff is really disruptive for the weak, for people in transitional phases. We know it chips away at their health. And then we know that, we had to get them grounding bags to take with them on the next flight because they didn't have it on that one.
Wow. And, having been doing a lot of home and office assessments myself as a geobiologist, just tell me your process. Is it RF, your high frequency? You do electrical fields, check out any dirty electricity, then look at the electromagnetic radiation? Are those the three sort of main areas you look at?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a milligauss meter for electricity and magnetic resonances and all the electrical devices, and that would kick off some resonance. We measure those in the 50 to 60 waves per second, or hertz spectrum. you have the dirty electricity. We use a Stetzer electric meter. You plug in the wall, StetzerElectric.com, like $150 meter.
Yeah.
And it tells you the amps to volts. So any sparking or static in the line, that's the meter to meter the dirty electricity, which I absolutely love. Really simple. That's a 4,000 to 100,000 wavelength per second measurement tool. And then you go into the acoustimeters, like the wireless signals and meters that meter all the wireless stuff, which would be 50 million waves per second on up to 6 billion waves per second. Some of the meters can meter that high. A lot of them meter out at just 2.45 billion waves per second, which is what these ping at. And that's the exact same speed that destructures water in our body. So yeah, so there's not a meter yet to meter 5G that I have personally, or that I know of, that we can buy over the counter. Let me know if you know of one.
Yeah.
I heard Safe Living Technologies is coming out with one, SLT.co, but I still haven't seen it yet. And but those are the meters, and those are the speed lengths that they're measuring. And the difference with this stuff, excuse me, to break it down, is we are a waveform. We're one with the universe. So this is where it really gets into the nuts and bolts. We're one with the universe. We're made on scalar waves that distribute equally in every direction. It's that simple. And all the electricity stuff that's man-made is all one directional waveform, or it doesn't work. That's why you have cell towers pointing in every direction, because it's a one directional waveform. But yet the Schumann resonance, the healing pulse of Earth, you don't just stand in one place and then pull the electrons from it and get the resonance, and then, okay, I'm out of it in this spot, and you're back in it. No, I mean, there's centers, there's spots that, vectors that have little stronger, force fields and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a pure resonance coming from it. And it's the same from the sunlight. It's not a one directional beam coming at us or zap us to death, and you're in it and then you're not in it. No, it distributes equally in every direction. They're unpolarized waveforms. So we're one with that. And then the one directional stuff is so different. And so that's how we can see the difference and then measure them.
Now, if someone's listening out there, Justin, I mean, I've been in functional medicine for 15 years, looked at a lot of labs, done a lot of genetic testing, food intolerances, amino acid testing, essential fatty acid testing. I mean, it's crucially important to look at this. And I mean, I'm a believer in it. We offer it to our clients, but there's no huge sort of, uptake in getting all these assessments. People don't know what to do. It seems sort of very esoteric. Tell the audience, like, if you're suffering with chronic headaches, you should look at these things. Or what symptoms can people sort of relate to? They're not going away, that they should look at this sort of non-native electromagnetic radiation.
Yeah, well, first off, let me break this down for you. If your body's decharged from EMF, you're not as likely to heal, if at all, or very quickly. So we got to get your polarity back. Our body acts like a body battery, and the body battery gets a negative charge from the Earth's resonance. We pull the electrons from it, gets a positive charge from the sun, and then we breathe in the microbiome, the minerals, and then hopefully we get some from our food as well. But that's how our body battery works. When you put shoes on, you live in an electrical box, of offices or homes, or driving electric cars, or solar on your home, wearing smart devices, having routers all around you and on you. It's going to decharge your body. And Dr. Martin Pall talks about this. The voltage-gated calcium channels open up, lets positive calcium into a negative cell. That in turn, Steve, causes tremendous cell and DNA damage. So it's a secondary effect on the body. What I've seen clinically working with these athletes for so long is your eyes, your teeth, your thymus, which is your electrical system for your whole body, and your large intestine are the four areas that will first get decharged. So I'll get into this in a little bit. You can tap on these bags, cover each of those areas one at a time, direct the properties of the crystals to it to recharge your body battery. It's applied kinesiology technique. But Once you're recharged, you clear your biofield, you're going to be more resilient against all the other symptoms. And then now let me get into level 1, 2, and 3 of what are known to be EMF challenges. Cognitive is the first one. Just what you're saying, focus, memory, anxiety, fatigue, behavioral challenges, lack of sleep. Those are textbook EMF challenges that you're going to see throughout the day. Level 2, Steve, would be more of a severe symptoms of headaches, ringing in the ears, bloody noses, muscle twitches or tremors. You can go into what we saw in the Havana cohort, the first attack of U.S. embassy workers on foreign soil with microwave radiation of a non-trauma concussion symptoms, nausea, fatigue, anxiety, vomiting, and the list goes on and on with that one. And then you go, the rashes on your skin, all that. And then you go into the bigs: cancer, suicide, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, and cardiovascular disease. And the biggest one right now is the lack of fertility. And I think people have seen all those bigs increase since we introduced electricity in their homes and started putting shoes on our feet.
Good. Now, Dr. Martin Paul, I think there are many studies, I think into the thousands, but is this becoming sort of like very well accepted in the functional medicine space in the US?
Yes, I would say yes. And I know, I'm glad you've had Tom Cowan on your show. He's a big supporter of our products, one of our largest resellers of our grounding bags. And as a natural product to look to the resonance of the earth to create a coherence. And there's so many. We sell these at doctor clinics and mostly doctors at chiropractic clinics across the country. But Dr. Jess, Dr. Kelly Brogan, you have so many other MDs that are coming on and saying, you guys, we got to look at this waveform space and understand physics and biology and how we're made and we're one with it, and how these one directional waves are the polar opposite and they just chip away at our life force. So yes, it's definitely becoming a hot topic. And then when you get a guy like Tom Cowan, coming on 2 years ago in the middle of the pandemic saying, guys, there's nothing flying around to kill anyone. It's your viruses, our adaptive system that we produce ourselves and to adapt from environmental toxins. So viruses they're a dead protein we produce. They don't reproduce, that we produce ourselves. They don't reproduce. They don't derive energy. They're self-limiting by nature. They're dead for all intents and purposes. So it's our adaptive system. And yes, there's a replication process they go through, and that's what our body does to cleanse from environmental toxins. And so that's Tom Cowan's main message, because the virus has never been isolated ever and proven to be the cause of dis-ease in the body. So you have a really brilliant doctors speaking out on this topic and radiate our world with 5G, or in 1918 radio waves, Hong Kong flu, satellites in the Van Allen belt, World War II radar. You're going to see major spikes in people, dying, because you're going to adapt when you need to at those times to the level you're capable. And if you're not in well health, you're going to pay the ultimate price more likely than not.
Sure. Incredible summary of 1, 2, 3. Thanks a lot. That's amazing, Justin, to hear you deconstruct that and sort of the pernicious effects of these waves. We're trying to sound the trumpet here in South Africa, and we've done some assessments, but it's not exponentially growing at all. Although 5G and all this radiation's increased exponentially since the pandemic. But I want to move on to just some things that people can do out there that are free. What can they personally do? I mean, my audience does know that you can do the home assessment, and we've sort of really pumped this as much as we can, office assessment and measure radiation, and give them sort of the the different mitigating effects of, you know, the sheeting and canvas over their beds. You know, make sure that they use things like Electro that's been on. I mean, interested in the EMF rocks now as well. But what are the things, like maybe you want to talk about grounding, that people can do out there that are not going to cost them sort of an arm and a leg?
All right. Yeah. So one of my clients in the past was Jordy Smith. And I don't know if you know that name, but big South African surfer. And we worked with him for many, many years when he was #2 in the world about a decade or so ago. And getting grounded by nature is the best thing you can do. Get out in the water and go for a surf. Go barefoot. Touch a tree. Go get a blanket and lay it down and have a picnic outside. Get out in nature. Start gardening. Start being a producer. Produce your own food. Get your hands in the soil. Super simple things that are free, essentially, to do. Get in any body of water, not just the ocean. Yeah, and that's where your bodies will start to come alive and start to create these practices of grounding by nature outside daily or several times a day. And then when you're inside, you can look to something that you could purchase for a really feasible price compared to all the other ones out in the market. You can purchase a resonance of the earth in a bag, and then you're grounded by nature inside your home.
Brilliant. So just tell us about the EMF rocks now that you've shown, and the YouTube viewers can have a look at it. But how does it work? How does it get mined? And have you done studies, or has it been empirical evidence and subjective symptoms? Just give us the lowdown on. It looks like quite a small bag. I'm pretty small, sort of surprised how small it is. It might be an option to get here in South Africa, especially if the price is right.
Yeah, so there are about 1 pound of hand mined crystals inside here. And they're beautiful pink crystals, and they're called colloid crystals. So they've been compressed from an underground water source. So they have the moisture properties from the water source from underneath with the magnetic properties. The combination between the both of those allows it to be exponentially stronger than shungite or amethyst or black tourmaline or all the other known crystals that have magnetic resonances in them. And what we've done is no one knows about it because they would dry out when they're mined. And so we seal them, and we realize that they have the strongest properties for repelling EMF and creating a coherence, converting a one-directional waveform to something our bodies really accept. And they're about, 1 pound, which is substantial amount. The minis for your pocket, purse, or backpack, these are about 2 to 3 ounces. So a lot smaller, can slide right in a pocket, and you could put your phone on the outside of it. But what the protocols with these are: one, on your bed, you'll sleep 3 to 50% better. So those are your studies you're looking for. Your pH will change. And what will also happen is Dr. Bear Lando, well, let me back up. You can use these to clinically passively treat yourself and flush, do an external detox by tapping on the bag and covering the eyes with the other hand. That'll 10x someone's energy right away, up to if their bodies are off, and clear any stuck EMF in your biofield. Because Bruce Lipton will say your health lies in your chi. Chemistry in the body would be secondary. So let's get this life force really strong. Dr. Bear Lando, alphavedic.com. Do you know that name?
No.
Okay, I'm going to connect you guys because you'll have a blast chatting with him. He has huge following, one of the most brilliant minds like Tom Cowan out there. And he did a waveform test. He has these dual impedance antennas. They measure your chi and any distortion in it. So if there's something off on this field, he'll tell you exactly what's wrong with your body. Well, the grounding bags clinically passively treated up to 91% of the markers off with non-native EMF present. He never, ever seen results with all the other products out there. And all the other products, I mean, the ones that manufacture a resonance to overpower the other man-made resonances. Like, that's a futile effort. That's just intuitively doesn't make sense. Like, hey, let's just keep blasting this to overblast this. But we're looking at 50 times 5G with the nuclear Internet of Things, the smart grid, the satellites are rolling out, all the electricity in our homes and all the wireless in our homes and at a close proximity. There's no way you can make a device to overpower all that. It doesn't make sense. So what we did is we looked to nature and her resonance to do what she does best, create a coherence and bring those medicinal qualities to your home.
Sure. Fantastic. Okay. So let's talk to the person out there in terms of Bluetooth. People don't believe me, all these AirPods, how dangerous they are. Maybe it's, hearing from you and your expertise, Bluetooth, and also holding cell phones. I tell people the whole time, never hold it to your ear, always on airplane mode. Rather, don't use cell signal, hold it away from you, distance is your friend. But let's hear from you with regards to these personal devices like the smartphone. What are the most important things that Justin can let the person who's listening out there, who's totally often oblivious to how important, the non-native electromagnetic fields are to disease?
Well, first off, respectfully, listen to Steve, because what he's saying is right. And yeah, we guys were made to thrive, but we're not going to thrive with non-native EMF stuff going in our ear. So if you put an earbud in your ear, let's think about this. You have a localized antenna in your inner ear, 2.45 billion waves per second about. So think about your ear. It's an airway canal to your brain. There's no skull there. So you're getting localized radiation in your inner ear that's connecting both directions. They want to connect. And so you're actually localizing it, directing it right to your brain. That's going to be a massive challenge. Our own California Department of Public Health about a decade ago was sued by a Berkeley professor to release studies of cell phone findings. And the Berkeley professor didn't want any money. He's like, just tell us what you found. Well, our health department hid it, but they hid the acoustic nerve challenges, cancer, the SARS rating with these phones putting up to your head. They don't test them right there. They have them several inches from your body when they're testing them, and they test them with dummies, not people with these living collective tissue matrices where when you mess with one thing, it messes with the whole system. So the cell phone company stuff, their absorption rating tests, they're all just a joke in a lot of ways, but there is a message there that every inch away from your body, it's going to be exponentially less, of a stressor on your body. So definitely develop proximity protocols. Never wear the wireless earbuds. Never speak with your phone directly on your head. Never have a laptop over your lap, because women's ovaries absorb 10 times the amount of radiation than any other part of their body. They have them for their whole life. They don't replenish them. So we're looking at challenges with reproduction there. Guys' sperm count plummets with EMF. I mean, it just plummets. And yeah, we reproduce our sperm, but when you start messing with those counts, things change there. So never have laptops on your lap. These are simple things, but look to turn your Wi-Fi off at night, turn your electricity off in your homes at night is the best thing. Get a timer for your Wi-Fi. All devices are on airplane mode. Smart meters in the US, from a privacy deal, we can convert those back to analog meters. And I don't know what you guys have in South Africa right now, but that's a big thing. It's a hot topic. They're okay privacy wise changing it, but they don't care about your health. But if you try and argue health, you won't get anywhere. But you can change them back. And a smart meter is an automated gas and electric meter. It's a two-way router. It pings into your house, measures all your devices every 7 to 15 seconds, sends it back to the substation. And Josh Del Sol did a documentary movie called Take Back Your Power on it. Highly recommend everyone watch it. It foresaw everything, tells the whole story. Great documentary movie on the smart meters. But those are some of the simple things to be aware of. Solar causes lots of dirty electricity, and then stay away from driving electric cars. And I know you're huge in the health space as well. Have you ever read that sitting on a massive battery is good for you?
No, never.
No, I haven't either. Pharmaceutical companies can't even make that up. So stop driving electric cars.
Sure. Okay, let's sort of get into the details here, because I think you said a lot. So maybe you can just reiterate, stay away from Bluetooth. Did everybody hear that Bluetooth devices in your ear is causing significant problems? Correct, Justin?
Yeah. Correct.
Brilliant. Then in terms of the cell phone, put it away, take it as far away and put on speaker mode is best.
Correct.
Good. If you have to, then use a cable like this. Am I right? A cable is far better than a Bluetooth device.
Far better. And there's some silicone tips that kind of slow it down. They have EMF dampening ones as well that slow it down as well. So, but yes, far better than having an antenna going directly in you.
Brilliant. And then, Justin, what about, which is something interesting to have a look at, in terms of the cell phone, is it better to do a WhatsApp call and use Wi-Fi or connecting to the tower? Because I've always said, try and stay away from your phone. It becomes like a beacon of radiation if it's connecting the whole time and you hold it. So is it better to use Wi-Fi or connect to the cell phone through sort of the cell phone signal?
So you like to do Wi-Fi only?
Yeah, I would say if I have to, I've told my clients and I've told patients over the years, as soon as you connect via 4G or 5G and you're holding that device, whether it's on you and you've got a cable, then it amplifies the amount of 4G and 5G, which for me is more pernicious than the Wi-Fi signal.
Yeah, so the cellular is more challenging.
Yeah.
I think that would be fair to say. I feel there's still a vibration though. So
of course.
So do you do muscle testing? Do you do any applied kinesiology?
No, not at the practice, but there are kinesiologists in South Africa that are really good, that do a lot of muscle testing. So you sort of carry on with your thought there.
Yeah, so muscle testing just with the phone on, even just Wi-Fi, even just holding a phone when it's not even ringing, and there's nothing on the screen showing, you're going to muscle test weak with this stuff. And then when it's ringing, of course, and everything's on, you're going to muscle test weak. Then we put it in a Faraday bag, one of our Faraday bags, not ringing, you muscle test strong. Even when it's ringing inside of here, you muscle test strong. So even Wi-Fi, I guess what I'm alluding to, has a stronger resonance, that it's not what bioinitiative.org would be considered safe levels. And muscle testing wise, we still would muscle test weak with it. But I think it's a better alternative. And if you can get the other big thing is if you can get an Android phone cleared out of any parts made in China, CCP district, and you can get a SIM card and you buy it through privacy.com. So no one knows that you can actually communicate without someone knowing it's you per se, and through Wi-Fi and a double encrypted app.
Sure. Sounds interesting. Obviously, from a privacy security perspective, that would be important. Okay. So we've looked at Wi-Fi, switching it off. Sometimes we got load shedding, as I was saying to you, where everything just shuts down in South Africa. So maybe there's a lot of benefit. People out there listening can say, well, if things shut down, you're going to have a better sleep. But not so easy trying to live life without power and kids. But be that it as may, what other things can people do in terms of their office? Maybe cables, laptops in your proximity. I've got my laptop now. We're doing a Zoom call. I try and keep it as far away as I can. No sort of wireless mice or mouses and keyboards. Just give us sort of more tips for the user who's listening.
Well, is there any way you can tap into fiber optic or hard wiring?
Yeah.
I mean, that that would be an ideal thing. And even if you do have to have a router and you don't have it, get a cable, like hardwire a cable from the router to your computer. So your computer's on an airplane mode and your router is on the other side of the house.
Yeah.
So those are things. So right now my phone's on airplane mode and I have it out. Normally it'd be in the Faraday bag. So my phone's on airplane mode. This computer is hardwired. There's no resonance of EMF other than neighboring signals that I get right now. So the proximity protocol, I've really done a good job buffering it. Plus I have grounding bags on my desk and one in my pocket, and our whole facility's full with them. But those are simple things. But hardwiring, it's faster, it's safer, it's more reliable, safer security wise, more reliable, meaning you shouldn't have the weather interferences or those types of things. And then there's minimal health challenges with it. So look to do that. I would go to incandescent lights over LEDs. I would look to ground out the houses really well. And I know you're big into ley lines and biogeometry. When you're grounding a house, use 2 earthing rods, one right near the panel, and then find a little vector power source and put the other one at least 15 feet away and put it in that power source. Have that connected through all the water lines, hot, cold, everything. And you're going to start to see your house really grounded. If you start putting more earthing rods in, you can create a circular spin and then reverse and actually get more EMF into your world. So just 2 is really all you need. You can do some biogeometry and find the vectors and put the right things in the right places as well. Our grounding bags will transmute any ley line. So if you line them up down the spine of your bed, underneath your bed, that'll transmute everything underneath you. If you're worried about that, you could put one on your bed at the head of the bed between your head and the headboard where you wouldn't bump into it at night. And that'll harmonize, create a coherence in your bedroom so you'll sleep better. So the sleep's a big thing. But I would stay away from solar. Right now, they just haven't figured out how to ground it. There's always static. The GS units show 900 to 1600 amps to volts on those, which is not safe. It should be 50 or below. Every home I've metered with solar is poorly wired or grounded, I should say. Again, stay away from electric cars. Stay with gas. Lower octane is the best, most efficient you could do. We've been lied to by all these industries. Even the gas companies, they're saying higher octane for a Range Rover. Like, no, you should be using lower octane in every car on the road. They just up the price so they could sell you a different thing. Like, we've been lied to in all these things. So really look to same with electrical cars. Like, they're still mining batteries with coal, cadmium in other countries. They're still using those fossil fuels. They're powering the grid when you're charging your battery. And then when your life of the battery is up in 10 years, or whatever, it goes in the landfills with acid. And it doesn't even get more efficient when you're driving. If you have a tank of gas, the lighter your car gets, the more efficient you get. You don't have that effect with EMF stuff. So I think I alluded to timers already, really make it a quiet residence in your home. Dim the screens on any screen time you would have at night. Lights off, make your room a sanctuary, create protocols where you're grounding all the time. I mean, those are the key things. Any wall, if there's a cell tower pointing, do paint or tint the windows or curtains on that one wall only directly to you. You don't want all the walls covered because that'll cause even more vibration. But those are some simple things to look at.
Brilliant. Sure. Extensive list. Thanks so much, Justin. That's cool. The last thing, EMF clothing. I don't know what your view is on putting sort of hats and, shirts and doing sort of this hazmat suit I was on Ben Greenfield's show and he came on my show, and just having him travel all the way from the US to the UK. We was at the Health Optimization Summit, and he did a little post on Instagram showing he's in a hazmat electromagnetic radiation mitigation suit. What is your view on clothing or underwear with regards to mitigating these fields?
Well, I think there's a place for a lot of these products in different uses. Kind of what I was alluding to is when you have a direct thing and you want to just shoot it the other way, use a blocking device for sure. If you're going to put a laptop on your lap, get a blocking device or use one of our, Faraday bags underneath it. So it just repels it away from you. That's okay. The challenge is that we can't live in a spacesuit or a tent and coexist in our society. So we have to look to nature to create a resonance that creates a coherence with us in it. Because there's this thing called physics where you can convert a one-directional waveform into something that's healthy for you. You just need a lot of the mass of the mind or mass of the resonance of the earth together to do that. So Ben's tested our products, but he tested them as a blocking device. So he tested it the wrong way. We don't claim to be a blocking. We're looking at coherence in the body. We look at biomeasures, not what a meter measures. It's a whole different thing. So
yeah, I'm with you. No, I'm with you. I know I've measured a lot of the field, either, with the Lila Q or the Somavedic or looking at that. It doesn't change the meter readings, but it optimizes the body and allows the body to actually deal with the electromagnetic radiation. I got you. I think that's important. So, okay, cool. So tell us about the rocks in terms of like where they come from, and is there only one place people can get them? And if they want to get them, how do they get them?
Yeah. We hand mine them in the Western US. The EMFrocks.com is where you get them. We sell them through doctor clinics all around the country. It's a leading natural protection of EMF products. And Tom Cowan would say, intuitively, that's the best place to look to Earth versus a man-made device, which would be I would call a genetically modified device. Ours is more the organic one out there, the organic solution that really feels well. You'll notice better sleep. The benefits will be unlimited for you.
Brilliant. What about grounding mats? What's your view on grounding mats, or standing on grounding mats, or should we be standing on rocks maybe? Or, what's your view with regards to grounding?
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of Clint Ober's book, Earthing, and he really invested millions of dollars into figuring out the grounding mat, game. Unfortunately, I'm not a fan of grounding through electricity for your bedroom situation. I mean, there's ways and times and places to do it, and you want to get the resonance as low as you can. But if you're looking to create no vibration in your house at all, grounding mat is not the direction to go for that. You're going through the electricity to get to the earth. There's still a vibration there. It might be helpful for some. I've heard so many stories of people not enjoying that experience at all. So again, the best way to do it is just through the resonance of the earth with a grounding bag. It just works so much better.
Brilliant. Okay. Anything we haven't covered, Justin, that the person out there should know, with regards to all this radiation?
Well, just really understand this physics and biology, guys, and that our Earth is an electromagnetic blanket of an atmosphere, and everything this air that we see is waves and particles travel through it. It would be ether or plasma, and that's what these waves travel through. So that's why we can have this brilliant conversation from so far away, is through wave forms. And understand that there's the non-natives are all one directional, but we're just not made that way. So when you introduce something that's 10 zeros faster, that's a polarizing charge to our bodies, it's going to be challenging for many people to respond to it. Rh negative blood type would be more resilient, but depending on how full someone's bucket is, or how young or old, if they're younger or older, a fetus, they don't have a blood-brain barrier. They don't have those protections. So people are going to develop sensitivities to it. And there's about 20% of the population that has an EMF sensitivity currently. So we're just seeing that ratchet up. So start to I would say get the meters, identify these stressors. When you show a child that this phone is screaming, this meter screams when it points at this phone that looks like it's so peaceful and quiet, and it's not, they'll start to understand that. So get the meters, show them that there's a vibration and a sound that our bodies hear. Most people can't hear. The plants and the animals can hear it, but that's the vibration that our body feels that affects us. Meter the stuff, identify it, develop proximity protocols, and then get grounded by nature outside as much as you can, and then inside with our EMF Rocks grounding bags.
Sure. Well said. Nothing to add there. I think that's incredible. Justin, just the future of health and the way you're seeing it in terms of, chronic disease. We're losing the war against chronic disease. I think, I had Zach Bush here in South Africa, with Joel Salatin. I had him on the podcast as well, looking at regenerative farming. It doesn't look like a pretty picture when we look at glyphosate and cancer. 1 in 2 Americans will get cancer in their lives. Glyphosate is so pernicious. It's, I think, 80 to 85% of America's air and water contains glyphosate. South Africa is actually number 1. 90 to 95% of the air and water has glyphosate. But, give us a message of hope, or where you see health going, because I think there's a lot of despair and a lot of sort of, discouragement out there.
Yeah, Zach Bush is a good friend of mine. I highly recommend you guys all get Ion Biome to help with your gut. We've seen remarkable experiences with people with psoriasis, and 3 months on Ion Biome, it goes away. It's significant. And with all the food being riddled with glyphosate, as you're saying, and our rainwater, it's more important than ever. And I think the two similar messages that Cowan would say 5G would be, a major cause for the last 2 years of everyone adapting to. Zach Bush would say equally, it's from glyphosate. I feel it's a combination of both, and just the 5G is able to broadcast it a lot quicker. So I feel that there is a lot of hope, because we can start to be producers and grow our own food, and that's going to be a huge part of allowing us to move forward, is to decentralize from our governments, stop watching TV and listening to these narratives that are told. It's like old Hitler thing. And when you hear something loud enough and long enough, people start to believe it. Well, they believe that a mask and vaccines are health. Well, that's the biggest lie in the history of lies. And they believe that someone smiling at someone could kill someone. The smile is the most contagious thing on the planet. There's a bioenergetic transformation here and communication that is so much higher of intelligence than what pharma could create, or any industry could create. So stop believing these industries that have bought their way into power and broadcasted the messages they want you to hear. Connect with God. Once you're connected, you're protected. That's really all you need to know. And then get grounded by nature. That's your next biggest thing. And start feeding your body and your nutrition. Smile, stay together, be together, and laugh and love and sweat and breathe and ground. These are the pillars for health, not a drug, not a mask, not a vaccine, not staying away from people. Those are lies for industry profit and control of populations. And that's not an enhancing vibration. With our consciousness of guys like you that really understand this and are allowing these platforms to educate this, we can develop that super consciousness and elevate and rise up above all the stuff. And you can get your vibration so strong that nothing affects you. But definitely turn off the radio and the news, and you're just, with that alone, you're going to see your vitality go through the roof.
Brilliant. Well said. Thank you so much, Justin. Declare favor and blessing over you, that you would live out the calling and purpose that you were created for. You've got a wonderful energy. You got just an excitement to help people. So thank you so much for your wisdom and your words, and really trying, even in the small stuff, maybe get EMF rocks here. I mean, a pound is actually not that much, it's not that too heavy. So, if it is the organic way to optimize your body and sort of modulate all these electromagnetic fields, then let's look to do that. So thank you so much, and trust that you go from strength to strength.
Thank you, Steve.